tickety tick 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 tick. So let's do word association. Word association.
Okay, I can associate. I can also disassociate.
Can you disassociate? Okay. J. Edgar Hoover.
Sexy.
I got one.
All right.
Popover.
Popover.
Pantry.
Oh, so that's why we have the
That's
little
why we
muffins
have
here.
popovers.
Pantry. That's what I got.
Pantry.
These are actually J. Edgar Hoover's famous recipe for popovers that his secretary once gave to journalists over the phone.
Wait, the
And-
popover just through the phone?
Oh yeah, she shoved it through the phone hole.
Did you
And-
get it?
Not only does
phone
audio work,
hole.
physical objects go through the phone.
Hey, that's why cell phones are terrible, because you cannot physically send objects over them anymore.
When I was little, I want to say that when I was like 4 or 5, I kind of wondered because he'd have the little phone holes, why you couldn't just squeeze something through and it would come out the other side.
Didn't they do that in SpongeBob once?
That's definitely
It's like every cartoon.
that is like a rule of
Popover?
cartoons. Is just like
Let's have popovers.
have
Let's
some
keep that
popovers?
blood sugar up.
Gotta keep the blood sugar going.
Mmm.
Because if J. Edgar
Did you just
Hoover...
crush it in your hand?
yeah.
Is that how you eat things? You're just like, blork squish, and like a
Just
piece of
testing
pizza,
to
and
see,
you like.
how tough it is.
Is Blorg Squish the attack you called that?
Like Thanos, just...
Blorg Squish!
Look, I do that with some baked goods just to see like how hard it is before I go chomping in it. You know.
Okay, that's fair.
Just bite down slower.
Mmm.
That's just not how impact properties work.
Have you ever had popovers before I made
Yes.
them?
No.
Have you?
Maybe. I don't keep
Actually, I
track.
haven't.
I don't have a record.
He was pretty good, though. Did he bake these himself? Did he put on, like, a flowery apron?
I learned from Nixon. Don't keep records.
Yeah, no. He's made them before. These were made by me. These are not 50-year-old popovers.
Oh,
That's why they're not stale.
I tried to crush it.
that'll do it.
Mm.
So, J. Edgar was the FBI guy, right?
J. Edgar, FBI
Like
guy.
the FBI guy. You could say that definitively. The FBI guy.
There's only one guy
Mr.
in
Big
the
FBI
and it's
stuff.
J. Edgar.
Well, for a long time, basically.
He wore many hats.
and,
very
and
point-
dresses.
Just
No,
not pointy
no.
ones.
Oh yeah, we'll get there. So J. Edgar Hoover was the head of the FBI from 1924 to 1972.
Cool.
That's a long time.
That's a normal length of a career of, like, 50 years.
Out of curiosity, when was the FBI founded?
1908. And it was because there are cross-jurisdictional issues with, murder and... Alright, reading about the early FBI, the word white slavery comes up a lot, or the term. So take from that what you will.
Okay.
To denote
Our wonderfully
the bad
colored
kind
past.
of slavery?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay.
So, FBI was founded in 1908. In 1924,
It got J. Eddie
as the director.
Yeah.
And he never really stopped being the director because he
He just died.
died, right?
He just died.
Never was fired or retired or resigned.
He never... Oh, my God. He like, died in the chair in his
Yeah.
office.
Yeah. Died in the saddle.
A little more naked than that, but...
Um,
Although I don't know what he did in his office, so...
yeah.
It was the 1920s to 70s, you know.
Well, there's no air conditioning. It's hot in there.
You know, Winston Churchill was a nudist.
You could say anything about Winston Churchill, I'd believe you.
He would... Yeah, he shocked many secretaries. He also had, like... I think he had, like, a bed in his office, and he would just sleep in it.
God, what a weirdo.
And people would, like, deliver briefings with his morning tea.
Wait, did he also have a comedy career, red hair, and Spanish language skills?
No, Winston Churchill actually never masturbated in front of anyone.
That we know of.
No.
Fun Winston Churchill facts, kids.
Yeah.
He wore boiler suits a lot, like jumpers.
Soiler
Yeah.
boots.
He was a really weird guy.
Total freak. I don't know how that guy got elected.
Crazy
He could never do
utilitarian.
it today.
Beefy. Well, Boris.
Big swinging like cigar cock kind of thing. Like the whole thing where like you would put the paperclip into his cigar,
Oh,
so that it
yeah.
would hold the ash, so that like you'd be he'd be smoked because he was constantly smoking, and like you'd look over and his cigar, which started out like just like like 7-8 inches long, you'd look over and like 4 to 5 inches of it would be ash that had not fallen off.
Why?
And it's because he would put a little piece of metal, a
That's
little piece
effort.
of steel down it, so that it would hold it together because it was so like unsettling to people.
That's so creepy.
That's like that Galaxy Brain meme level tier of like dominant sort of stuff, like sitting down and moving someone else's stuff on their desk.
Oh yeah, kind of like how Hitler didn't smoke. So at the Munich Agreement, he got the British Prime Minister in, and that guy after half an hour was itching so bad for a cigarette that he just gave Hitler Czechoslovakia just to get out and smoke.
Yeah, and so it's like stuff like that, or like the whole Teddy Roosevelt would take congressmen on hikes and they would not be able to hold
Or
up.
Vladimir Putin bringing dogs near Angela Merkel.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
stuff like that. Like just next level. I am in charge.
just petty like 4th grade dominance bullshit.
Yeah.
So great. Did Hoover do any shit like that?
He did a lot of shit. So this episode is going to be just sort of an overview of the human crack op that is J. Edgar Hoover, because you could make a whole series on this guy, and he intersects so many other crack ops. He's like a squid with his tentacles and different op.
Like he was in charge of Monopoly, wasn't he?
Nah, Monopoly was after.
Was it after him? Okay.
That was the 80s, right?
That was 70s and 80s.
Okay. I thought it was like
But
early 70s.
he was around for some of the really crazy stuff and like the conspiracy theory stuff that I've heard of.
Yeah. Yeah, this little frog man.
Well, let's get into it.
All right, you want to get into it?
Yeah.
Brad, are you ready to get into it?
Sauce.
Let's do this chronologically. What?
We're doing it
Craziness?
chronologically.
Let's do it.
All right.
The year is 1924, see?
Well, actually, J. Edgar Hoover was born in 1895.
The year is 1895. see?
We're in D.C. Segregation is booming.
Big business.
The segregation factories are
Okay.
just churning out segregation. Barrels full.
Folks, we're keeping it loose. We're segregating. We're riffing.
His father was named Dickerson Naylor Hoover.
No, he wasn't. Shut up.
Yes, he was. Dick Naylor Hoover.
Oh my god.
Wait.
His father was an actor from Southern California.
How old would this guy have been?
Normal parent age when J. Edgar was born?
Yeah, like
I'd have to go
if
look
he
that.
was like 20 to 30 years old. He was born during the Civil War or around that time frame.
yeah?
Either just before the war or just after the war, and that's when their parents were like, Dickerson! That's a jolly good name.
We want our son to have a lucrative porn industry.
It's like,
Dick Naylor.
it's like, don't worry, my love. I gave birth to our son. I've named him Dickerson. You're not here, so I got full naming rights.
You snooze, you lose.
Have fun in Fredericksburg.
Oh,
Deep cut.
the deepest cut of all. So his dad worked for the National Geodetic Survey, which I might work for someday.
I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Is that mapping or is that phrenology?
Yes, probably back then. Yes, I'm sure they were like, the Earth is just a skull, and we can phrenology it.
We must caliper the Earth.
We can caliper the Earth.
Does it
to
have
figure out
space
where
for
we should
morality?
live.
Here in the Himalayas, the criminality ridge is extremely tall at the top of Mount Olympus. Or
Oh,
whatever
in
it is.
America, the failure ridge you can see is quite low. It's actually at 0 sea level.
We have no bad space.
Only
It's not
good
it's not
space.
cleverly named. It's just the bad space.
So, fun fact. So Hoover did not receive a birth certificate. Even though he had 2 older siblings who did, and you were legally required to have a birth certificate in DC at the time. We don't know why. He actually filed his birth certificate right after his mother died when he was 43. Which is weird.
That's pretty odd.
I don't even know what to make of that.
How do you file your own birth certificate?
He's
Hey
the
guys,
FBI.
sorry,
I would
I'm
like to
late.
announce that I was born.
40 years ago.
Yeah, I was born 43 years ago. And he,
Until now, it's been hearsay. So
I'd like to announce officially, folks, I'm
I'm
alive.
born.
I'm alive.
I don't know why he would not have a birth certificate and then purposely not file it till his mom is dead.
Wait, hold on. 40. He was already director of the FBI. at
Yes,
that time,
he was
wasn't
43
He'd been director of the FBI
for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For 2 decades, and he didn't have a birth certificate.
No.
you could do anything back then.
You could do it. Yeah, you could just show up and say, my name is
I mean, it was the gay
Dickerson
90s, right?
Naylor.
It's like, hey, Cocaine, that's what babies need. Heroin is the perfect defender of health.
Oh,
Like,
you got a cough? Here, have some blow. Sure,
Yeah.
We'll just try it. We'll try it.
oh,
We'll see
I don't
what
think this helps, but you'll feel great. Have you heard of morphine?
There's nothing better than blow, lasses, and molasses.
My cough is gone. I feel amazing. Let's start a restaurant.
And that's how
Yeah.
the FBI was started, yeah. Okay,
Let's start a federal
The
agency.
FBI was originally a restaurant.
it stands
Do you
for
guys want to,
Food
like,
Bank
investigate murders and shit across state lines?
International.
You're my best friend. Let's found a policing agency.
How have we not done this already?
We're so smart. Holy shit.
Look, man, you get a lottery, I get a badge, and together we fight crime, but across state lines, because lines don't mean anything, because my dad's done the geodetic survey, he could get rid of the lines.
Someone call
God.
Theodore Roosevelt. It's 1908.
Someone
Break up the telephone. Let's go. I love sending telegrams. It's great. Don't you
You know,
love it?
I've got a nephew. He'd be great to work with us.
Dude, what if we started an agency that was all nephews?
Let's wait a couple of decades.
Hey, the
before that
nephew,
happens.
the proud.
The nephew,
The nephew, the proud.
the nephew
the
and the
Marines.
proud.
So I don't know what even that would be
Crayons.
conspiratorially. That he had to wait for mommy to die. And it was weird
Odd
because
person.
his his older brother was a witness to the when he filed the birth certificate, he had to have his older brother come and be like, yeah, I was there for the birth. But then he and another witness named conflicting doctors, and so we don't even know when this guy was born. We think it
He
was
wasn't
18.
born.
He just
He
kind of
was
showed
made.
up.
That is the
He
conclusion.
emanated.
He precipitated out of nothing.
So we think he was born in 1895 if he was born at all.
Ooh.
If he didn't just spring out a fully formed frogman ready to take on white slavery and
Take on rum running and white slavery.
yeah,
Which I guess is the only kind they cared about back then.
yeah the two food groups.
Well, I feel like the U.S. Marshals were still pretty prevalent around then.
I don't know enough about the U.S. Marshals to.
They were marshaling.
They crossed state line jurisdiction. They were
Red Dead
federal
Redemption.
agents and stuff.
Takes place during this time period, so I think I know a little bit about the marshals from them.
Oh yeah, let me take out the
Oh my god.
book.
Oh my god, she's out of
Oh.
the shot. Oh my god, where did she go?
Die.
Oh my god, where did she go?
I'm back.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Brad!
she's back. It's okay. It's okay.
Wait, rock back and forth.
Do you have any more
Here,
heroin?
breathe into this paper bag.
Is it laced?
Sure.
So,
have some
There are some
cocaine.
shoelaces in it.
Okay, I'm good.
so this
look,
is
look at this fucking
Aglets.
dork breaking out the books.
Okay, so this is my main
Nerd.
source. Fuck you. The Boss. J. Edgar Hoover and the Great American Inquisition by Athen Theoharis and John Cox.
Nobody expects the American Inquisition.
And when talking about The Boss,
Oh fuck, that's hilarious.
Oh, the boss.
The boss.
The boss.
The boss.
Somebody's gotta talk to the boss.
Hey, someone get on like the phone with the doctor. The boss needs a birth certificate.
I know a guy who can do birth certificates.
See, what if he was
State
like
Attorney
actually like an
General.
ancient demon or something like that?
I
Wouldn't be surprised.
You know?
Although demons are usually pretty straightforward, and from what little I know about Hoover, he
Oh,
was
no.
an absolutely bizarre man.
he was a very
weird.
strange
Well,
person.
the demons are the chaotic ones.
Oh, I need to find the
Is it
pictures.
the devils?
The
who are
devils
neutral?
are
Oh,
the-
the
yeah,
devils
yeah.
are lawful.
Yeah, they're the more like the like contracts, and demons just kind of like oh. So that is what I imagine chaos embodied is like just
You ever hear of sticky notes?
yes,
Fuck.
or like writing things down.
This podcast is sponsored by Sticky Notes.
Oh, here
This
they are.
podcast is sponsored by Control F and Tables of Contents.
Yeah, let me control F this book. I just wanted to read out
You
what
say
was
that like
by.
it's hard to do.
I'm going to read out what was in his school yearbook when he graduated,
Is
and
this his senior quote?
it's a blurb that another classmate writes about him.
Oh, even better, it's the book jacket.
Speed is one of the best captains and captain of one of the best companies that has ever been at Central. However, he does not stop at that. He is some debater too. This is like tiny font. I have bad eyes. Even though he is very convincing to the judges, he has been unable as yet to convince Miss Hall of the fallacies of women's suffrage. Speed intends to study law at college and will undoubtedly make as good in that as at Central. So if you read his book, he was really women's suffrage stuff was happening when he was high school, and he was very against it and would argue with female teachers. And the school
He was a
paper.
debate nerd.
Yes, the school paper complimented his cool focus on logic and logic alone.
So this is
Oh.
like some Ben Shapiro, like logic and facts shit.
Yes, he was just
Broken on
Look,
the wheel of facts and
logic and reason dictates that women should not vote.
Yes.
Clearly.
yes, clearly.
I've used,
J. Edgar Hoover.
as you see on this skull chart of women, they have a deformed logic and reason part of the
I
brain.
prepared
But you
some
see-
slides.
You notice women have a very round forehead. This is where we keep our cooking and cleaning.
Yeah, cooking and cleaning and
It just-
child rearing is in the back. That's why
I've
they have a
noticed
big bowl
that
in
that
the
women
back.
don't talk to me, and I'm very smart, so clearly women can't be. J. Edgar Hoover.
I have
J.
deduced
Edgar Hoover.
that women are bad.
Oh, are you implying that he was interested in women in any form?
Oh.
You know what? Since he was never actually born, that's probably a fallacy.
No
Yep.
belly button.
No belly button,
No
no
romantic.
birth
Oh,
certificate.
Whoa, no belly button would be weird.
I mean, when you try to say his name 3 times in a mirror, you just like bleed out of the nose profusely.
Now, what would you put in the center of a pentagram to summon J. Edgar Hoover, from what you know about him so far?
Popovers.
Either popovers
Yeah.
or
Well, maybe
a
I
woman's
put
shoe.
popovers at like the pinnacles, like the vertices.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
And
little
in the center,
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
sure.
Which amendment gave women the right to vote?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Throw
that.
that in there.
Yeah. Just 19. Just
And he
put,
comes out
put
and
the
he's
Bill of Rights in
like,
there. Did you just put the civil liberties?
Yeah, no, apparently when he died in 1972, the FBI had like 50 black people.
Cool. Yeah, I
In
bet
72.
you could. Probably,
Yeah, 1970. When Led Zeppelin was touring, the FBI had like a handful of black people, a small pinch.
We'd already been to the moon.
We'd been to the moon. Now, black
several
people in
times.
law enforcement can't do it.
Yeah.
Just can't have it.
The Beatles had already come to the United States. Like
The Beatles had
British-
landed on the moon.
yeah,
were
British
great black
invasion already
icons.
happened.
Watergate was about to happen. So yeah, he's not exactly an embracer of diversity.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
What a surprise! The guy who led the FBI for 50 fucking years was not a forward thinker.
Oh yeah, also he was in choir and ROTC, which I feel like you can have one on its own, but combined.
Both is a bit of it's a red flag.
Both,
That's-
you're like either going to be a priest or a school shooter.
I
J.
almost
Edgar
want to do a
Hoover,
red flag counter.
If he were
but-
born today, he would be an insufferable YouTuber, and like he would have a podcast like this. But
Hey
bad.
guys,
What's up, gamers?
What's up, King?
Incel Nation coming at you loud and proud.
Today we're gonna talk about
Let's
the.
play video on Papers, Please.
Oh god, he was a Volcel though. He'd just be a he'd just do.
But
video
like-
game
like-
tutorials.
That's when he
Major-
could actually levitate.
Major debate nerd.
Oh yeah, he was the ultimate no fap icon. We actually know we don't know that.
I preserve my vital essences.
No birth certificate.
No reproductive organs.
No reproductive organs that we're aware of.
It's like a
no
Ken
tech.
doll under there.
Yeah, yeah.
Like a big rotund top heavy Ken
ROTC
doll.
and
Like a
choir
hairless
at the
seal.
same time.
Wait,
We're at 4 red flags already.
he had a Calvinist tiger mom.
Oh,
Okay, so that's like 2.
yeah.
I mean-
being that Protestant is never a good thing.
Because Calvinism
Sorry.
is just doesn't make a bunch of sense.
She was just
From an operational
she was
perspective.
just the big, strong Calvinist woman who wanted to push her children deep into the hole of morality until they drown under the waves of faith.
You're going to hell. Now go to church.
Oh yeah,
We are spiders in the hands of an angry God. But if you pray enough, hey, let's see what happens.
It's like it's deterministic religion.
And so the picture he gave of himself as a young child, for years there's been kind of debate over whether it actually is him. It's at one of them is at the Masonic Museum where they actually changed it to he was a Freemason.
Cool.
All right, so
we're
we're at
just piling on the red
8 red
flags. Got a big
flags.
old pile here on the plate.
He is an ROTC Freemason lawyer.
Ding.
Oh, he's a lawyer.
He's a
Oh,
lawyer.
yeah, he
my
went to
He's a
law
lawyer.
school.
He's a country. No, probably not.
Yeah, he went to George Washington, or was it George Mason in D.C.?
George Mason,
It's
probably.
one of the Georges,
Yeah.
yes.
I've got it.
One of the 2 awful Georges.
Calvinism
Sorry.
is ad hoc ergo propter hoc applied.
What?
Oh, sorry, you dropped some of these.
It
Why
happens.
don't
It
you
happens.
pick 'em up,
It happened. It happened. Therefore, because of it, like.
Yeah. We're not gonna. Let's not get into
But anyway.
roasting
Anyway,
our
sorry.
fans who presumably are all fanatically.
They're all
Christian.
fanatic
Oh,
Calvinists.
well, you know.
Yeah.
There they are.
I'd like to
just-
meet some. I haven't met a Calvinist.
That just seems like a
I
very
would enjoy.
dated
I would
thing.
enjoy having a cup of coffee, or I don't know if they drink coffee. So
So his dad,
having a cup of
a
lukewarm
cup of
water.
with them.
Coffee is too hot; it makes you horny. You got to drink lukewarm
isn't that
water.
what the Mormons said?
No, it was the caffeine. It's mind altering.
I had this friend
Not
in
wrong.
high school who was a Mormon, and she wouldn't drink coffee, but she popped caffeine pills. Because it's like in pill form, it doesn't.
It's a loophole.
Whatever.
Anyway.
let's
She is no longer a
Okay,
Mormon. Anyway,
9 red flags.
that's a good band name. It's like Black
I'm writing
Flag,
that down.
9 Red Flags.
That in First Floor Fire Escape.
First Floor Fire Escape is pretty good.
That is that's probably my top tier.
Dick Naylor, his father,
Dick Naylor.
was actually severely depressed and unstable throughout Hoover's entire childhood, and did a stint in a mental hospital in Maryland, which is actually why J. Edgar didn't join the army for World War I, is because he had to, do the man stuff at home.
Oh.
So he had to beat his mother and stuff.
Our dad said twice a day, Mom. No, his mother was a disciplinarian.
Oh.
So he had to get beaten by mother.
Probably.
This guy has most of the red flags of a serial
All right,
killer.
but actually, we're at 10 now with depressive home life and
Check this dude's crawl space.
yeah. How many
Yeah.
dead animals do you think?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no, he had a beloved few dogs.
For how long?
Good, yeah, good question. So yeah, not the happiest home life.
This kid hasn't even made it out of school and he's already
No.
got 10 red flags.
No, so yeah, when he got out of school, he went to become a lawyer, and he actually worked at the Library of Congress, where he was very happy organizing books.
Of course he was.
He loved the Dewey Decimal System. He lived and died by the numbers.
They actually use something called the Library of Congress classification system. I learned it when I worked at the library. It's better.
Thank you, Jack.
It's a superior book
Wait,
organization
actually,
system.
There's a different one?
It is.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think they
How
still
does it
used
work?
Dewey back then.
I think
genuinely
LOC is
curious.
older.
Really?
I think so.
But yes,
Brad,
he
how
was
old is the
very
Dewey Decimal System?
Brad.
Chime in with that whenever you find it. So he works for the Library of Congress as a lawyer?
So he went
He
to.
argued
This was
with the
when he was
books.
in law school. When he was 18, before he even graduated, he started working at an entry-level job at the Library of Congress.
1876.
Okay. So when is the Library of Congress system invented?
1875.
Ooh, close.
You damned on.
So when he was in law school, he was in Kappa Alpha Order, which somewhere described as the college wing of the KKK.
Oh shit.
So that's flags
Woo!
11 through 13.
It wasn't the KKK, but it was very KKK adjacent.
That's you know
Yes,
what?
that's exactly. I love to see that on a resume.
KKK adjacent. law
Look, we're
school.
not quite the KKK. We're a little bit more forward thinking in our guerrilla tactics.
There's some.
Oh.
We let some Catholics in.
Oh my god. That's radical.
1897.
Oh. I
Sorry,
was
bud.
wrong.
Yeah, because I could have sworn it was the Dewey Decimal. Which is fun
makes
because I
sense.
imagine
Well, hold
Dewey
on. Well,
is being
either one could have been inoperative because it would have been the Library of Congress because this is after 1897, so they would have adapted that. So that's what they're using.
All right.
You'll love to see it. I'm always right. Even when I'm wrong, I'm right.
Are you? We don't even need to test you. You're pure blood American, aren't you?
Hell yeah! I do want to.
I bleed red, white, and blue.
Is
It's a
it-
very
is
serious
that,
medical condition.
Is that a mix of whiskey and Coca-Cola in your veins?
Old Coke, 1800s Coke.
Oh, with all the cocaine in
Yes,
it.
indeed. Okay, so he was in the KKK adjacent.
KKK adjacent. Yeah.
Unlike most frats, they were extremely racist.
Like most
Unlike
frats, they were
most-
upfront about it, probably.
Is that a thing?
I was being very sarcastic. Let's move on.
Anyway,
Yeah, frats. Because we know just frats turn out great even when they're not KKK adjacent.
They were
So-
segregated until the 60s, mostly.
Actually,
And
George,
they actually still are. It's just not.
just not
mandatory.
prevalent.
back into it.
That's gonna be a great morph cut.
Oh boy.
Okay, so
So,
at,
ready?
Pillar man poses.
All right, I want that.
so at
Yeah,
20.
let's pick that one.
So at 22,
take.
he got a clerkship at the War Emergency Division of the Department of Justice. This is during World War One.
Ooh.
The pose.
The
What?
Great
War,
War.
War One.
World War One.
Uno.
Wait, World War
Carry the two.
One?
World War One.
Aw,
Hey, Macarena.
World War
That was four.
Macarena. I'm looking at my notes and I just keep seeing college wing of the KKK.
Like that came up a lot.
And that's a phrase that sticks in your mind. You don't like to see it.
Yeah, no.
I'm looking at my paper and I keep just looking at that. He became
man.
a Freemason in 1920.
Cool.
So we have
Are we
Library of
calling that another red
Congress,
flag?
They
Freemasonry.
mostly do charity.
We'll call that like a burgundy flag. Like it's not quite red.
He did have a special fez.
That's
Okay,
cool.
maybe.
They're actually
Are we
pretty
getting
cool.
closer? I mean, I do like a good fez.
I
Yeah.
love a good fez.
They actually did very comfortable.
I have 2 or
hats.
3.
You guys could be Freemasons.
No, I can't.
I actually consider
I'm a confirmed
joining
Catholic. They
Freemasons.
don't like it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, can you unconfirm?
No, they'll take you as long as you say that you believe in something. It doesn't even have to necessarily be God. It's
I
like
think they're
AA.
like Catholics.
Right, but
then.
the Catholics don't like people joining the Freemasons.
Oh,
Yeah.
but what about the P2 Masonic Lodge, which we're going to cover in another episode?
I have no idea.
Oh, a bunch of high up bishops of the Catholic.
No, I just mean as
no.
far as like why the Catholics don't like the Masonics. I don't know.
Oh, they have a lot in common.
Yeah, that's probably why. That's just, they don't want.
competition.
Yeah,
All right, so
it's all identity. They don't want you to have two.
So after 2 years at being a clerk at the War Emergency Division, he becomes head of the FBI.
Oh, so I guess he arrested enough Sackos and Vanzettis that he got to rise up.
So yeah, he was in the Palmer raids.
Oh fuck.
He was a big part. Are you familiar with those?
The Palmer raids.
No, I'm not
wiped-
familiar with any of that. But also, 2 years,
All
and
right,
then it's just like, hey,
he had a winning smile.
you want to be a part? You want to be in charge?
didn't.
He wasn't even in the FBI. Well, he was in the Justice Department, I guess. But like, still,
You know,
DOJ was small back then.
not a lot of justice.
Not
you
a lot
see,
of the-
he's
well,
a
not a lot of
proof.
the
He's
department.
proof that you find a startup, as in some little scrappy government agency. You become the boss, and then you just get bigger and bigger and bigger until your claws are in every part of Washington, sucking out its hot blood.
He sounds like Lavrenti Beria or Steve Jobs.
Aren't they the same person? Have you ever seen them in the same room together?
They're both dead.
Sure.
Excuses.
Bum, bum, bum. Yeah, so
He'll bury ya.
the Palmer raids
Yeah,
were
yeah.
where the head of the Department
Stop.
of
You heard
Justice they annihilated the entire American left-wing movement, which is why we don't have the European social democracy stuff.
Like we don't have an actual leftist.
Or
that-
have it since the...
because
For a while.
those countries instituted stuff like universal health care to take the wind out of the sails of like pretty violent communist movements.
Yeah.
And the U.S. had that. We actually had the most violent labor conflict in the entire world.
Like full-off war.
Machine guns were used on both sides of the U.S. labor movement, and they got
Intense.
there was like this guy who ran for president from jail as a socialist and got 2% of the popular vote.
When was
There were a
this?
lot of socialists in America in the 1800s, early 1900s.
Not after the Palmer raids, because
Well,
they
also
put
they
everyone
just
in jail.
also they just put away a lot of Russian immigrants because they were like,
Yeah,
"How dare you Russian on our soil?"
They-
It's
basically-
the probably.
they rounded up a lot of Germans too.
Yeah. So
It was really, really bad civil liberties stuff, actually.
very
And
egregious.
what time frame was this? This was.
This would have been early 20s.
Yeah.
Like around 1918 to 1920.
Okay, so this doesn't get talked about at all because in American history classes it's like, well, it's the Roaring Twenties now.
Yeah,
well,
we
no,
kinda
it was
skipped
it
that
was like
stuff.
more like it was right during World War One.
So being anti-war became a crime. They passed a law that said being against the war publicly was a crime.
Yeah, I remember that.
And so everyone who was against the war went to jail.
For example, there was the whole thing about them deporting Emma Goldman despite her being an American citizen.
Yeah, it was
Where have I heard
Stalinist
this
stuff.
before?
So
Wilson was
so
a bad
he
guy.
he's not even in the FBI yet, and he's already
Oh, is this late Wilson? If it was late in Wilson's term,
It was pretty early. Talking
Okay.
about 1917.
yeah. Well, then there you go.
yeah. So he's not even in the FBI, and he's already just crushing them civil liberties up, just balling them up, and I can't say Kobeing anymore. Kobeing.
Aw.
Well, of course you can.
Kobe.
Kobeing.
Yeah.
I still kind of call him Kobe because I see the name and I'm like, that's the beef.
Kobe.
We love sports ball so much,
I
don't
love
we?
sports ball.
I love sports ball.
Sports beef. Beef ball. This has been another crack op.
So he would crawl. He would crumble up civil liberties and eat them as a snack.
He would sprinkle them over the popovers like powdered
Yeah.
sugar.
Oh, yeah, actually, yeah, it's like in the Weimar Republic how they put sawdust into flour. He put civil liberties into the flour and baked them into his popovers.
Putting civil liberties into the water. It's turning the frickin' frogs game.
And he and Clyde Tolson would just feed them to each other.
Oh,
So Clyde Tolson was his second in command. So J. Edgar had a very, very strict thing for how he hired people. For example, he mentioned that he hates pointy heads and damp hands.
You heard it here, folks. If you have a pointy head or a damp hand, you are not welcome at the FBI.
Like,
apparently.
he wouldn't let people in if they, like, had kids or anything that would distract them, anything that would look bad, no smoking, no drinking. And, like, if you came in for an interview and, like, shook his hand and your hand was sweaty, he was such a germaphobe that he hated the dampness, and he would not get the job.
That's fair. You know what? I sympathize with that. I don't like when I shake someone's hand and it's just sopping.
We are the dampest
and I gotta wipe my
family.
hands on the.
Whoa.
I'm a sweaty guy, but I use hand sanitizer before I go to job fairs. and
Yeah,
stuff.
but then you just have clean, you get that sticky sweat.
No, because it dries your hand up.
Yeah, it does.
You use the hand
You
sanitizer.
splash some alcohol in your hand.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I do, and it keeps me from being a disgusting greaseball
Are
weirdo.
you not gonna
No,
powder
for the
them?
pointy head part, we had to put him on a grindstone for a while, but eventually.
They put me in the head flattener
Yeah.
machine for 5 minutes.
We really hated the cone heads. Man.
Yeah, you have to wear a special hat, and it's like getting orthodontics where it'll squish your head down, you tighten it every few weeks. So, yeah, he had a
It
very...
gets whiter though.
Oh,
Longer.
hey, Miranda.
That's how
It's
they
just-
make Scandinavians.
It's just a poisson
What?
contraction. It's just
Square
how
heads.
it goes.
Scandinavians have the square heads because they flatten their children's heads with a board.
You heard it here, people. I lost my train of thought. Wow.
Organ,
Somewhere
organ.
poisson is just rolling over his grave.
Put the baby in the head flattener.
You can always just sort of like...
Put
Get
the
by the
baby in
legs.
the cone.
Oh, they're already canicular. So, he's hiring people, he's like, you can't do this, you can't do that, until he met this young lawyer named Clyde Tolson, and he was like, Clyde was like, yeah, I just want to start a law firm in Grand Rapids. That was, I don't want to stay in long. And J. Edgar Hoover was like, you're thick, I'm hiring you. So Clyde Tolson had none of the credentials to be an FBI agent.
This was a
All right.
cone-headed, smoking, drinking, sweaty-palmed son of a bitch.
Yes.
He
His
had-
head, you could cut yourself, you could prick your finger on the top of that head.
You could stick this guy's head in a bowling ball polisher and nothing would happen.
His head was briefly used as a hardness and denting test.
When he knocked down doors for the Palmer raids, they just had him like point his head at the door and run, kind of like the Rhino from
But
Spider-Man.
people thought he was a German because he had a little spike on his head, and they're like, "Oh, that's not a
And
helmet."
as we all know, back in the 1920s, every German walked around wearing a World War I German soldier helmet.
Yes.
This is true.
That was just
You
required.
could tell who
Regardless
the
of
Deutschbags
where
were.
you were, you had to wear one.
It was a safety precaution.
Exactly.
Germans wear PPE at all times.
All
they have
times.
plastic glasses.
Well, they
have,
used to. It's not anymore,
Painting masks,
but-
yeah.
we have equality. It's
Now they
basic
wear
equality.
leather. They've become weirder.
And
Somehow.
disco.
Actually, I was listening to some really good German techno. I can send you my playlist. It's very minimalist.
Please don't.
It's a paradoxical statement.
Oh, shut up. Yeah. So anyway, he got thick Clyde Tolson in.
What happened to names?
They
We
got
used to have
worse.
such great names.
Dick
named-
Naylor, Clyde Tolson.
Yeah, Dick Naylor and Clyde Tolson.
Yeah. J.
And now
Edgar
everyone's
Hoover.
just named Michael and Matt.
Well,
Yeah, it's awful,
That's
isn't it?
pretty
There's
normal.
3 names.
There
it's
are
terrible.
yeah.
Hey, I'm named
Emily.
We
Yeah.
have Brad, Chad, Thad, and Tad.
I'm Dad.
Hi, Dad. I'm Dad. Ooh.
It's like me reaching through a mirror to shake my own hand. We are all Dad today.
The real
But that
dad was the friends
echoes
we
like
made
3
along the
times.
way.
Like we're all
Father,
dead.
father, father.
That's what J. Edgar Hoover said in his sleep every night.
All right. Sorry, I'm losing.
So he hired a guy for having a good butt and no qualifications.
So dad ass Clyde.
Yes,
Clyde.
Clyde was popping.
Clyde Popover ass. What's his
Oh.
last name?
Tolson.
Tolson. Clyde Thick Boy Daddy O Tolson.
I just
From
forgot.
Grand Rapids. Is Grand Rapids in Iowa?
Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clyde Beltbreaker Tolson.
Dummy Thick Tolson.
Yeah, so they like to hang out, go to racetracks together. They'd say, "Oh, we're going on an inspection tour of these really southern states on the beach, just to make sure everything's going well. We need to write this off on the government's budget.
Yeah.
You know, we got to go to Florida, not Maine. We got to go to Georgia, maybe the French Quarter, just for inspection, guys."
We got to go to Rehoboth and rent a beach house there for a week.
Yeah, gotta make sure nothing bad's happening in Rehoboth.
In this specific beach house, they did not
Yes.
leave the premises.
Actually, you joke, but I'm pretty sure there was like an FBI beach house.
That's a great punk band name too, or like a surf band, FBI Beach House.
Oh
Put
my
that on the
god.
list.
Beach house.
Yeah, so does anyone know about the Lindbergh kidnapping?
I mean, I've heard of it, like the Lindbergh
Yeah.
baby and whatnot. And
Yeah, the famous aviator Charles Lindbergh, his baby disappeared.
Famous
And-
aviator and also Nazi.
And not, oh, that's
really?
Yes, he received a medal from Hermann Goering.
Okay,
with
then.
a name like Lindbergh.
Yeah. Never trust the Germans.
You heard it.
Probably not first. Did not hear it here first.
You heard it here after many
You heard it.
iterations of the same. You know it.
You've heard it. You already know who it is.
But then again, if you spend enough time with anyone in this country, you'll hear that for just about any group. Never
fair
trust the blank.
Never trust the Dutch. Never trust the Germans.
Never trust the Portuguese.
Oh no. Shifting lot.
They're just shifty Spaniards.
Yeah.
Where's the paella?
Can I give you my word as a Spaniard? No good. I've met too many Spaniards.
Is my word...
and then he's just like, yeah,
What do
well.
we call them? A Portugalers?
He shrugs. What's the
Portugoids?
demonym for people from Portugal?
Portugoids?
Portuguese.
Portugueses.
Prove it. I
Porto
beg of
Rico?
you. The word, it's demonym.
Portugoid. He was a Portugoid.
DEMO.
Avoid the
NYM.
Portugoid.
The Portugoid jumps on paellas that you buy from Pizza Hut.
Oh my god.
Do you know the demonym for people from Connecticut is nutmegger?
I'm not saying that because I don't pronounce my words well.
I'm just saying, it's nutmegger and it's like, why?
Yeah, they
Because
don't.
they're spicy.
No.
Wrong.
Corrected to Demo Man.
Demo man of Portugal.
I'm Portuguese.
Fortress 2 wiki.
They're getting too strong.
Oh,
Man,
fuck.
did you guys know that Portugal had colonies?
Yeah,
Isn't
like
that crazy?
Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil.
It's a big one.
Brazil.
You didn't know that?
Brazil.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
pretty
I
sure
knew that.
Brazil got its independence very peacefully, if I remember correctly.
I think they asked nicely.
Yeah, there was like a prince who moved there and was just like, "Yo, can we like just
Email
stop?"
from an Arabian prince and saying that they free him.
If you sent,
If you send $10,000 in an unmarked envelope, you can have a nation.
Portuguese.
okay.
That's all it is.
I thought
They're
it was
Portuguese?
Portugoid.
Portugoid?
Saying it right here, Portuguese.
Portugal?
That's boring. Portugoids. So
Portuguese.
Oh, Rico.
Porch of geese.
Porch of the Rico.
Porch of geese.
Actually, isn't just Portugal the Porch of Spain?
Yeah, you know what? It's okay.
we should leave that dead time.
That was all right. Don't cut that.
Porch of Gaul?
Portugal.
Gauls. I hate Gauls. Oh, yeah.
Must Roman.
Lusitania.
So there's the Lindbergh baby. That was the big breakthrough case for the FBI. I don't know why I did that with my hands. That was the big breakthrough case.
Breakthrough case.
Breakthrough.
I think everything you say should just be animated hand
You
movement.
look like Ricky Bobby during the interview.
What?
I don't know what
Gotta
to
go
do with
fast.
my hands. You just keep them at your side, Abby.
Keep it.
For those of
Just
you
keep going up.
who are listening in on Radio Land, we're doing all sorts of crazy stuff with
One
our
of my
hands. Just
one of,
putting them
one of
up,
my
putting them
favorite
down.
ever bits for that is when someone said I don't know what to do with my hands and they did like T-Rex arms.
When I was a kid, I would walk around with T-Rex arms a lot because it was just comfortable.
I like to wear jackets open so I can do the Bane thing where you hold your arms like that. It's very comfortable.
It's not a Bane thing. It's like a fat cat baron capitalist.
Yeah, it makes me
It's
feel
like-
like,
it's like-
a business guy. You
It's
know?
like, well, gents, how's it going down to the factory? Producing much of my money yet? It's like, sir, we've lost 4 workers today.
Guys, do
What-
it.
what-
It's really
what-
comfy.
What time is it? It's only
No, it's
9 a.m.
Don't,
We're doing better than last week.
don't your hands just
That's the official hands of old people.
shut up? It's comfy.
You look like you're 97 years old.
So T-Rexes probably looked like giant chickens.
Cool.
Speaking of the Lindbergh
I
baby,
think they ate good.
maybe the T-Rexes ate
Do
the
you think
Lindbergh
they
baby.
ate good or do you think they tasted good?
Either way.
Both. Yes, I think yes to both.
I think they ate well for themselves.
They ate well. I mean, they were pretty big, and
They
also
were.
I would totally be
Lots of
down for
teeth.
some like T-Rex tenders.
Tendies.
Yeah, Rexy tendies.
I want Jurassic Park to come back so I can have T-Rex tendies.
I want someone to remake Jurassic Park where they're
We can
actually accurately
nuggets.
predicting what dinosaurs probably looked like,
Like they had feathers.
which are like. Well, here's the thing: is not just they had feathers, but like, you know, you look at like the size of like how people render them, but look at like what a chicken looks like without its feathers. It looks like a fucking dinosaur.
Nikki.
Yeah.
So
Well,
add the
They
feathers.
evolved from
Exactly, but add the feathers and something that's like this poofy little like sort of thing. So imagine that for
Large
T-Rex.
birds are literally called raptors.
I know.
Oh yeah. Hey, do you think that you could hypnotize a T-Rex by holding its head down and drawing a line in front of it like a chicken?
Yes, I would 100% believe that.
So, speaking of the Lindbergh baby.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of
yeah,
chickens.
of course.
So the
Lindbergh baby, yes,
Lindbergh
our topic
baby
that we're
was
covering.
all dead and stuff, and that was the first big breakthrough case of the FBI. They're like, we're catching bad guys. We're taking this German man, putting him behind bars. It's what America does.
They caught the guy who killed the Lindbergh baby.
They caught who they think did it.
Yeah, wasn't that never
Oh,
resolved
It
though?
was never resolved. A lot of people think they just sort of like shoved him.
They
in.
said, that guy, this investigation's going on long enough.
execution.
And I'm supposed to be having a martini right now, so
Time for my 8 martini.
who did I hit? He was guilty!
And J. Edgar and the FBI started to promote themselves with pop culture. So you started seeing, because in the 1930s, gangsters were really glorified and bank robbers because everyone hated the banks, hated the establishment.
Yes, back
Poor and
when
sad.
bank robbers dressed up like they were going to church in the Southern Baptists.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
just-
just like
They
absolutely.
were like, this is like,
Church-like
like
hats, yeah.
straight up. Like,
Honestly, that's the way to dress. Like if you're gonna commit
Do a
like,
they would,
crime.
and they would
something
like
that,
they would like
you gotta
shoot
look
their
nice
name
doing
into
it.
the wall and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a time, and everyone loved. Well, not people loved them way
I mean,
more
this
than
is
you
this
think.
is like what this is also when like Jesse James stuff was getting really
Yeah.
big and like
Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
yeah
Bo-
like
Bonnie
like
and Clyde,
like
yeah.
like the
Those guys
myth
were
of
iced out.
the myth of like the Wild West like outlaw was
Yeah,
getting really
peop-
popular too.
Well, people like and actually, eventually you started to see a shift to movies where FBI guys were the good guys. They called them G-men,
Ooh, why did they call them G-men?
government man.
Well, I could tell you, but we would lose a lot of viewers really quickly if we told you why they're called the G-men.
Because
Get uranium.
wasn't 50 Cent's crew called the G Unit? Were
I
they
have
gangster
no
men?
idea.
Guppies.
What was that movie?
The government
about the
man.
hamsters? It was G something.
G-force.
G-force.
I remember that.
They
I
also
thought that
made
we had
the
forgotten. I thought that we had all collectively agreed to just forget that
I never saw
Yeah.
that.
and been like,
never saw it. I
that
saw
didn't
commercials.
happen. Think.
Oh, I saw it. Oh,
It's the little pin from the
Oh, I
from
saw it.
Men in Black.
Yeah, a massive self-neuralizing. Just that
I
did
wish
not
I could have
happen.
one of those, man.
they're called forget-me-nots.
I thought it was a flower.
Forget-me-nows.
What?
Forget-me-nows.
Who?
Forget me nows?
Yeah,
What?
it's where you roofie yourself.
What?
Oh, did none of you watch Arrested Development?
Oh,
What
no.
the fuck?
Yeah, you roofie yourself so you wipe some of your memory, and then you get stuck in a roofie loop so you'll keep. You don't remember roofing yourself, so you'll.
I ruined myself. Oh, I feel like it's rude.
You know what I could go for? A real Groundhog's Day situation. James, fetch the roof and all.
Yeah, I like to keep my big box of roofies with me so I can roofie myself all day. That's how I spend a good Sunday. It's fun.
And by
That's where
Sunday,
you're
you
gonna
mean like
With
3
gin
weeks.
blossoms and
Yeah, with
honeyed
my
cakes. Eating maple syrup
What's
straight from the
happening?
jar. I'm
Eating maple syrup straight from the strategic reserve.
Straight from the maple syrup pipeline.
the
we've
prison.
tapped
I told you,
the
Mr.
maple
Bond,
syrup
I
to
could not be
prison
stopped.
pipeline.
I'm sorry, but that was really funny.
So J. Edgar Hoover and Lindbergh Baby.
J. Edgar Hoover
So the
arrested.
G-men
Ate the Lindbergh baby. He ate the Lindbergh baby.
for their secret
He's
magic
so
shoes.
round.
Burned.
That old fat piece of shit ate the Lindbergh baby. He was
So-
feeling peckish when he was hanging out with his buddy.
So
just went
Keen
upstairs
and
and
Clyde
just-
Thicky Tolson.
Thick Clyde Tolson.
Oh, you said I could
Yeah.
have a snack.
Not that.
I meant the chips.
You said make yourself at home, so
This is what I do at home.
I don't know what you do in your establishments,
Gnawing on the
but
bones, sucking out the marrow.
okay. So what happened after the Lindbergh Baby?
Nothing.
Popularity goes up, and that's when the blackmail started. So he had these special files, and they're FBI files, but he doesn't want them with the the mere agents. He wants them in his office for his private use. You know, just sensitive things about senators, celebrities, politicians.
The spank bank.
Some of that. What?
Believe me, there's no one who can spank to any senator having sex. None of them are terribly
This is
bad.
the point, and I feel
They
like
are
you kind
if
of grazed
If
it.
you can, you probably should become a senator. You have the soullessness that it takes.
Yeah.
When I say sensitive materials, I'm thinking more of just like, you know, it's typed up by a woman at a typewriter, and just like Senator Wilkins has done a big gay, and he's like,
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm thinking.
the documents.
Yeah, exactly. That is what I was thinking.
Oh, I think.
Nope, that's you.
Senator Wilkins.
Take what I
come
said,
to my
and that's
office,
what I thought.
please.
It's-
Mr. Wilkins, I heard
Look
that
what
you
I
are
have.
a big gay.
I have
Vote my
documents.
way!
I have documents to prove it. Would you like to come meet me at my house to discuss these documents? And he thinks he's getting blackmailed, but it's actually a seduction.
But it's
That's
both, because he also records it.
God.
But
This
no
dude
one,
was a one-man honeypotting
but
operation.
no one
It
would
was great.
believe. Well, no, that's what Clyde Thicky Boy Tulson was for.
Oh.
He was the honeypot.
So reading this book was
Honey Pot
actually
Tolson.
written in like 1988. So it's just like J. Edgar Hoover preferred male companionship, and I'm like,
He gay. That's like the rule when you go through historical figures, and it's like he never married. He spent a lot of time with his best friend. You mean his gay lover?
It's like, yeah, best friends generally don't live together for like 10 years
Yeah,
they
that's
actually
like,
never lived together.
and get monogram towels and
Oh
shit.
yeah, it
like,
wasn't accepted then.
Well,
Well,
they
he
didn't
did-
live together.
Yeah.
They just went on vacations to the FBI
They just went
beach
on
house.
vacations together.
Yeah.
And- no, they had
Yeah.
they had lunch and dinner at the same restaurant every day together.
Aw.
It's too bad.
His
that-
gay lover.
Yeah. It's too bad he was such a monster because that's pretty adorable.
Yeah, I mean most married couples
Wait,
don't
so is this the lesson of today?
go to dinner with your spouse.
Don't let people be director of the FBI for 50 years straight. Even gay people can be monsters.
I
Go to
think that-
dinner with your spouse,
I think go to dinner with your spouse is
Go
the
to
real
dinner with your
takeaway.
spouse.
especially if they're the gay monster that's run the FBI for 50
Especially
Yeah, the mind
if you're thicky
pretzel
boy.
continues to twist.
Especially if you're thicky boy Tolson and you have no skills besides just a
dude
cute face.
smoking, drinking, and having a nice butt.
Such
Yeah.
a gold digger. The original Kim Kardashian was, in many ways, he was the original Kim
Clyde.
Kardashian.
Clyde, yes, I'm thick, Tulson.
Oh God.
He broke the internet, except it was the newspapers back then. So he broke the newspapers by popping champagne and holding his butt out with a glass on it.
He broke
Catch you.
he broke the newspapers by ramming his pointy head through the doors to
His,
take away the
his
communist
damp
materials.
palms and pointy heads.
He went to the printing facility and just touched all the papers, and they got all curly because they were wet.
The inventor of the watermark.
Just
Clyde, come here. I need you to watermark some documents for me. Okay.
damp hand on it.
Nasty like hand.
Oh,
Oh,
It makes a squelch.
the white hand of Isengard, but it's his sweaty ass nasty.
Jesus.
You do not know pain. You do not know fear.
so
You will taste man flesh.
I can imagine J. Edgar Hoover giving that speech to the fucking Uruk-hai, except he's directing them against
God,
the
you're
civil
such
rights
nerds.
movement.
I'm the nerd for my book.
Clyde, there will be no dawn for men, Tulson.
He legally, that's what he put on his birth certificate when he filed it at 43.
Oh.
J. Edgar, keeper of Orthanc Hoover.
The people of Rohan think that they can integrate Woolworth's lunch counters. We will show them
No
otherwise.
power is
Rising.
rising. Victory.
Is our done.
I'm the only one who hasn't watched her.
Except in
What is this from?
It's
That's from Lord of the Rings.
It's from the
Okay.
second
Two
movie.
towers, dude.
Yeah.
Come on, yeah.
All I know is they got the
They're
big
right
eye.
there.
Yeah.
They're in the other room.
So that's what we're doing
We're
after
watching
this.
after this.
We're getting high as shit on Benadryl.
Yeah, there's
and
the
we're
eye,
watching-
there's the eye of
Eat a
sauerkraut,
bottle.
right?
Yeah, the eye of
One of my
I told you, never trust a German.
But,
Come
but,
on.
but one of my favorite things, just to quickly end the Lord of the Rings tangent, one of my favorite things is how many people tried to tie World War II to Lord of the Rings, and how many times Tolkien was like, no, it's not.
It's not.
It's like, shut up, it's not.
It's not about industrialization. It is a fantasy book. It's about
I did not
hobbits.
write it about that. I just like language and like Old English myth.
Yeah, he literally was such a dork that he created languages and then was like, "Wow,
I need something to do with
I need a
this."
way to make people listen
was-
to me
I-
talk about this." So I
think
created
the
fantasy.
world-
stories.
I think it was like I made this language. Now who would speak this? Now what would they be like? Huh.
Nerds.
They
He
would
built
be
it backwards.
That's how we got his franchise.
Cool.
In
dude.
and Out Burgers.
The
Tolkien,
the books
creator
actually
of
came
In and
out.
Out Burgers.
The books actually came out during World War II.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
fun fact.
So, fun fact: Harry Truman really did not like our boy J. Edgar or the FBI, and thought that they were going to hurt civil liberties and overstep their boundaries.
Going to?
Going to again. First of all, okay, anybody. If I have to choose between my civil liberties and my Hoover, I'll choose my Hoover every time. My civil liberties out the door.
Well,
Bye-bye.
you know, Hoover's
Bye-bye,
great
civil
because
liberties.
his eyes are just so far apart that this is just like fertile cropland in the middle.
Ah.
Just anytime you're looking at him, his eyes are just slowly.
It's like a me. It's like it just starts here, and by the time it's done,
slides sideways.
they are hanging off of its
He's
face.
a hammerhead shark.
He does look quite Hammerhead-like.
He goes through a physical transformation whenever
Looks
he
like the
sees
Emperor.
It's like
someone
it's like the
protesting.
DVD logo. It's just constantly his eyes just bouncing
Oh,
back and forth on
no.
his face.
I forgot
And they make a
that.
weird like bone snapping sound as
Does
they
have
move.
a wide bridge.
Yeah,
doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like Abby said, it's cropland. It's
We've,
real
done, we've
cropland.
actually
You could
done,
grow tobacco there.
We've done some, we don't actually have his skull, but we've done some remote phrenology using various pictures from different angles.
And we can tell
we've
you.
determined that he's not a good dude. His eyes too far apart.
Too far apart.
Too
That's
far
the
apart.
first dead giveaway.
It's really weird because if you look at pictures of his mom, it's just like Lady Hoover, like he's a Parthenogenesis baby.
Lady Hoover.
Like there's no Dick Nailer in there.
Well, you know what? As above, so below. Like father, like son, I guess.
So Hoover actually lived with his mother until she died when he was 43.
Oh.
And
I
then
bet he
filed
was-
for being born.
I finally escaped
Excuse
from
me.
mother. I bet he called her mother for his entire life.
Mummy.
I think he did.
Mummy's Museum.
Maybe museum.
Oh,
Mommy has
God.
given me an intelligence service.
So actually,
It's like, oh, Edgar, are you coming home for dinner? Not now, Mom. I have to run the FBI.
I'm hunting for communists in the army.
I imagine he lives in the basement. Edgar, I made popovers. I can make my own popovers, mommy.
I made poppers for you and Clyde. Not now, Mom.
Remember what I said, Edgar? No closed doors.
Oh. I can see him being the kind of guy who, when people question him about that, he's like, no. She lives with me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or it's
absolutely.
like she lives upstairs, I live downstairs, 2 mailboxes.
Yeah, because
But it's the same mailbox, and he just put like a plywood divider
Yeah,
down the
divider
middle.
in it.
There's two
Not even
flags on
Irish
one
card.
part.
Or there's just a second mailbox
A second.
underneath. He goes and
it
he checks
seems
the
to
mail
me-
and then he puts his mail in the underneath part and then takes it out.
it seems to me that she was part of his excuse for being a bachelor. Like, I just gotta take care of mom, my dad. I just, I can't just leave her alone. His mom, meanwhile, actually something that someone pointed out that makes sense is that women had to attach themselves to powerful men back then, and her husband certainly wasn't. He was a
was a
land
dick nailer,
surveyor he died of melancholia. That's what was put on his death certificate.
What the fuck is melancholia?
It's depression.
He was so depressed he just died.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't even think it was
That's metal.
suicide.
Yeah.
I think he just sort of like
No, like that's how
gave
bad
up.
that's how bad we were about mental health back then. It's just like
You just shut
He
down.
was so depressed that he died.
yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
So since she
Glad we
doesn't
have video games. That solves it.
have
Certainly
a
helped a lot.
husband with any power, and her other son is married off, she's like, oh, a single son who's also power hungry? I can ride this gravy train to the top.
Ugh.
A gravy elevator?
Grelevator.
She's riding the grelevator to the top of the Washington Monument.
With a manrilla.
Folks, we're speaking
And
another language.
Clydo
here.
Hyperthick Tolson.
Yes. No, Clyde obviously was like a pinup who was just riding, like, submerged in the gravy.
Oh.
Just
I hate
Clyde
these metaphors.
slick with
Clyde
gravy.
Femstathick.
Okay, wait. Actually, look up Clyde Tolson, and is he
Just,
thick?
He has a big nose.
That's
Okay,
thick.
I guess that's a good sign.
Let's see.
Yeah, because J. Edgar had a very smooshy nose, so
Together they had it on the nose.
yeah,
They had
Well,
to share.
he's wearing a big old overcoat in this one.
There you go.
it's to hide the thickness.
J. Edgar Hoover
He's
had a
just, like,
sickness
normal
for
legs, but then
thickness.
just like massive.
Like Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Yeah.
Like Squidward from the episode where he eats all
Yeah.
the
Oh
fucking
yeah!
burgers.
First it goes to your thighs, and then you become the long-term gay lover of J. Edgar Hoover,
Yeah.
and then you explode.
So he's all I know about Hoover, at least previous to this, was that he was reputed to be like a tremendous crossdresser and that he loved to dress up in ladies' clothes.
That's something
and
I
take
looked
pictures
up,
of himself,
and that actually sounds like
Buffalo Bill.
that sounds like the one thing that wasn't true about him. Like, it comes from one socialite that hated him. Meanwhile, all the other weird shit comes from, like, multiple sources. It's, like, aggregated.
It's more
Ah,
reputable.
That, like,
okay.
he had his little spank bank. He had the blackmail bank.
They were one and the same.
The spank bank of black males.
Yeah.
Well, not all of them were spanked.
No, this was all of it.
Oh, yeah, you know,
All of
Eleanor
it.
Roosevelt
Also, it wasn't
doing
great.
civil
It was
rights.
like a repeat
Oh.
use.
Oh, yeah, Eleanor Roosevelt was his avowed enemy. Well, at least he really hated Eleanor Roosevelt.
Yeah, with enemies like that.
Well, yeah, she was for women's suffrage, and we know if there's one thing I learned about from his backstory, it's that he doesn't like that.
This is like reading the backstory of a fucking cartoon supervillain.
This is pretty villainous shit. Yeah,
This
Yeah,
guy,
he sits in his office.
I'm taking notes for.
he's
for
gonna build a
future
wizard's
things.
tower.
Yeah.
And he's gonna use his powers to like alter the weather to make the sun go out.
Yeah,
He's just gonna turn all women into men.
Oh, he'd love that,
He
actually.
would.
I am going to create a nation of himbos using my magic.
everyone shall be Everyone shall be dummy thick.
Oh, no.
Using the DNA of Clyde.
Mr. Bond, I have created the gay bomb.
Oh, no. So
That's
he
why
had
the CIA tried to create that. He asked for it.
That's right.
So he had different famous people he kept his eyes on. Frank Sinatra, Eleanor Roosevelt, Desi Arnaz, Lucille Ball, who was a registered communist actually, and like before she was famous. Elvis Presley, Louis Armstrong, and many,
Okay.
many others. Basically anyone who was famous had their own little
Why?
file.
So anyone who's doing like cool shit, it sounds like.
Anyone who's doing cool shit.
That was just a list of cool people.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
a little like I would love to see those people get together and like do a jam sesh.
Ooh,
That'd be so
yeah.
fucking cool.
Louis
guys.
Armstrong.
Did have mob ties.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
fair
because he was
enough.
Italian. Like
Okay.
Thank you
in
for
this
that.
time, in this time,
You
he was
automatically have mob
he
ties.
was wealthy. He was Italian, and it was the early 1900s. I mean,
Hey, I'm
it
Jewish.
is
I live by
hard.
mob ties.
It is hard to
Mob ties.
not be have
Are they
mob
separate?
affiliations.
What?
Are the mobs still separate? I thought we integrated crime years ago.
Like
No.
you know, this
No.
is back when like he had them, if only so that they didn't come and try and take his money.
Yeah, well, your crime boss name is Sticky Manischewitz, right? Your hands are so sticky
right.
with wine that you can climb up
And you're
surfaces.
the cow.
We wants it.
Give me that grape juice.
Oh no.
We need it. Give us the Manischewitz, precious.
So it's funny you bring up organized crime because he denied the existence of organized crime. The FBI denied that the mob existed until 1957.
What?
Shit went down and they had to be like, okay, the mob exists.
Were people asking him about this? Like, hey, so Don Corleone?
Yeah, so
I've
there's
noticed a lot of well organized crime.
There are a lot of well-dressed Italian men in large boat-shaped cars these days. Could you explain this? They're just good at business. Look, move along.
So there's a few theories to why he looked away. One is
Thicky
that
boy.
the mobs, they were just being good capitalists, yo. The other one was that admitting that there was a force in the U.S. the FBI couldn't really control.
The G-men can handle anything.
Thank you, movie.
Oh my god, that's so
Thank you, the
fucking
movie.
sad.
Throw in the hamsters.
Yes, it stands for. They were
Guinea
guinea
pigs.
pigs.
I thought they were
German men.
gerbils. Do they have tails? Like long tails?
No,
And
no,
they're
they were
pups.
they were guinea
Gerbils have
pigs.
tails?
Yeah, that's how you can tell gerbils and hamsters apart. Gerbils have tails.
Germans have tails.
Gerbils have
Germans
Well,
tails.
have
they
tails.
clip them off at birth.
Oh.
We're a very inclusive group here.
Oh yeah, and the other one was that the FBI, or I mean, that the mob held status quo in a lot of communities. So the FBI was like, this makes people easier to control.
I mean,
Organize
actually,
the crime.
They did keep order.
organized crime does do that, but so does any sort of ordered structure.
This is where my history dork thing comes out. I want to talk about the origins of the
All right,
mob
hey,
so
wait,
bad.
stop. I'm letting you off your leash. Don't. All right, the leash is in my hands. Don't let me regret
All right,
this.
so
He's running into the park.
Ah, he's gone.
time to eat some shit. Metaphorically. So
Eat shit, Jack.
the mob came about in the United States because it originated in Sicily. There were these sort of bandit clans, and there was this sort of organization around powerful, rich men who were not nobles, but it functioned a lot like feudalism.
So like a mercantile feudalistic kind of.
Yeah. And then to the U.S., it became a crime thing because the cops wouldn't protect the Italians in the Italian neighborhoods. So they had to form
racism.
their own organizations because the cops were racist against
I mean,
Italians.
let's be real here. What are cops if not just a gang organized by the government?
I didn't say it.
Neither did I.
So they had to. So they
Hot take.
They originated
Maybe
as
not.
these sort.
That's
It
tepid.
was a lot like the MS-13, which originated the same way. It was a bunch of teenagers
I mean, that's
with
most
no
Kings.
jobs.
Latin Kings was just
nothing
about
to do.
protecting.
Yeah,
Latin kings,
people
black
from
royal
from
family.
pretty
neighborhoods, yeah.
shitty conditions who need something.
They organized themselves to protect themselves and their neighborhood, and they got into crime gradually, until eventually they controlled huge revenue streams from prostitution and gambling and other things. They ran the underworld in an organized way.
I've heard the IRA was heading that direction. Like they were
IRA,
starting to
yeah.
traffic stuff.
But now they're killing drug dealers.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
That's mostly
Interesting.
all of what they do. But back to the organized crime. They ordered these poor communities, and they kept things from getting too violent and too many bodies from turning up by breaking knees, and they served as a source of capital for small business owners. So if you were Italian, you couldn't go to a bank because you had no credit, you didn't speak English.
And no one would give you the money.
But you could go to the local neighborhood big boy, and he'd front you some money at an extortionate rate. So you could found your little deli.
Yeah.
And so they actually served a bunch of really interesting social functions as a safety net and as sort of cops and stuff.
Yeah.
But eventually their power came to be such that they functioned as a state within a state, and governments do not like that.
And that's when they put their foot down.
That's when the FBI comes in and says, okay, this has gone too far.
Yeah.
And between the 50s and the 90s, they break that shit up. And
'Cause
it's still going, obviously, but it's not like...
It's really interesting because, you always hear about mobsters from pop culture and you see the movie and you're like, oh, it couldn't have been like this, but we forget how powerful they've been compared to what they are now.
Yeah. Like
Now it's
no.
just foreign drug gangs, but it used to be in like these sort of American ethnic organizations. Every like bizarre subcategory of white person had their different ethnicity that they used to be. It was so fucking
Yeah, you
weird.
got your did the Germans have a mob?
No, they were all farmers out west.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
the people that
farm
moved to
mob.
cities.
Got your Italian mob, your Albanian mob,
Yeah,
your
there were
Russian mob, your sticky Manischewitz.
The Jewish mob. Because it was the same thing there.
Yeah. No. But
Everybody lived in Puerto Rican mob. There was
it's like one of the reasons why exclusivity is not a great idea for civic order.
Yeah.
Because people will find
People
living
will.
will find order.
They will create their own little
They
thing.
will.
Yeah.
One of the only ways to maintain order is through like, hey, deviating from the system results in you being removed.
Yeah, so
So-
because they're not getting
They're not getting protection from,
They're not
from the
getting
government or from the
protection
police.
from the cops or anything.
Yeah. So
And
they will form their own.
They form their own order, and
Yeah.
it's enforced by violence and by just whoever happens to be the big man in the area. who has
And that
connections.
started to get broken down by the
I don't know.
FBI.
That, that sounds to me like a well-organized militia.
Ooh.
Let's take a look at that Second Amendment. I don't
Two
know.
A guys. We're
I
Organize
don't
this
know. I'm just saying.
Wait, is it militione?
Militia.
I don't know how to
Militia.
translate it,
Don Milicione.
Oh my god.
but Boss militia. That's me.
Wait, isn't that just like Mr. Militia?
Yeah.
Mr. Militia.
Mr. Militia.
Because Don is like kind of means
Instead
like
of
boss
Don
style.
Corleone, it's Don Draper, and he's an ad man.
It was actually Draperoli. He had to change it. That's his dark backstory. He was just Italian the whole time.
Oh, that's actually darker than his real backstory.
So, there's also
Wait. Put it back on.
what? Oh, leash. Okay.
Yeah.
The history dork stuff.
All right,
ends now.
you've been
Okay.
leashed.
It's just so
Good boy.
interesting.
have some shit. But no, yeah,
It's actually a dialectical relationship between
it is really interesting stuff.
No, that is.
It's one of those things that people like with all the propaganda that's put out about like crime and gangs, and you're like, people don't realize like there's a reason why they exist.
Why do you think people
and
do this stuff?
It's the people at the top who
They do
you could
stuff.
arguably blame for a lot of the shit.
Give loans to Italians. If you see an Italian person,
Just give them money,
Give them money.
set it down on the ground, and turn around.
low
Put the
interest
money down on
rate.
the ground and just say, okay, that'll be 3.5% interest rate.
That'll be 25% APR, and you better pay on
You
time.
better pay on time. All right, now pick up the money.
What was the slurping noise for?
That's how guns cock.
Oh.
There's a little bit of marinara in the mechanism.
What was the slurping noise? Use a water gun.
So my favorite name that came up here is Cornelius Gallagher,
Cornelius Gallagher.
who was a representative apparently in the 60s. Robert F. Kennedy was the
Attorney General.
Attorney General. He and Hoover did not get along. Hoover did not like the Kennedys for a variety of reasons, many of them having to do with civil rights.
And belief over whether or not they should exist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Also, their mafia connections.
Let's take a pause.
Call from Perkins Norman.
Norm?
Everyone hit like a dabbing pose or something.
Wait.
All right, Morph, cut back.
Okay.
And we're back.
So,
folks.
yeah, Cornelius
This ad
Gallagher
break was brought to you by cough syrup.
and grandparents. Grandma's homemade cough syrup. With love
Don't
in
drink
every
too much.
tuss. What?
It's grandma's homemade cough syrup. Don't drink too much.
Oh. It just goes straight to your hips.
It's just gin.
Just like Tolson.
It's just gin and like purple, like purple food coloring.
So Liam Gallagher was this.
Cornelius Gallagher.
Gallagher. So Corny Gallagher was a state representative, and
Gallagher.
so the thing, what Hoover would do is he'd have people go up to senators and representatives and be like, "Hey, like we have this bad secret thing we found about you, but don't worry, it's safe with us. We won't tell anybody." And that was their way of blackmailing, like, "Hey, if you don't do what we want you to do, someone's gonna find out." So they did that to Cornelius Gallagher because they were trying to get people to rally against RFK, because Hoover was trying to shift some blame for the whole FBI doing bad stuff away from himself. So,
As one does.
yeah, that did not... and
The
then
government agency that I'm in charge of is not to blame for the thing that we are to blame for. It's
is.
that man!
it's RFK!
It's the guy with the funny voice and the bad haircut.
The guy that likes people.
The
Just
guy people liked.
Probably kind of in general. No, we're talking about civil liberties, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He was okay on civil liberties and the mob.
Wait, RFK or JFK?
Both.
Forward thinking. The mob brought order.
Wait, did they both have the same middle name?
Lawful neutral.
Was it what did their middle name? Frederick?
Francis.
Francis?
Fitzgerald, I think.
Fitzgerald.
Fitzgerald.
Brad.
Brad. It stands for Brad. Brad with a silent F. Brad.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's song.
John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
John
So I was
Fitzgerald.
right about that one.
Okay.
And then-
Robert Francis Fukuyama Kennedy.
Fortnoy.
Francis.
Fortnite.
Boom.
So Fitzgerald and Francis.
You just
Frankie.
youngest.
John Fortnite Kennedy. He was a gamer.
God, look at that chiseled chin.
Wait, we
Good
had
old
this.
Bobby Kennedy.
We had this conversation with some friends, like at a party. I told them about the podcast, and I was like, "Which Kennedy brother is hotter?" So
Well,
this
what's the
became a
verdict?
whole thing. It's in the air. I think JFK he was fine.
I think that they both look pretty handsome from afar, but when you start looking at them for too long, you're like,
Like through a scope.
oh, okay. Oh, all right.
Oh, I'm a bad person.
I was thinking of Mike.
I'm a bad man.
Fellas. We're staying loose. We're killing presidents.
Woo!
It's terrible.
What a tragedy.
We don't like
Okay.
to see
Great
it.
Bullen.
Yeah, we
Actually,
are, as the kids would
speaking
say,
of
bullying.
scopes. Speaking of scopes, J. Edgar Hoover was the person who broke the news to Robert F. Kennedy. He called RFK and he just said the president was shot.
Lol, hang up.
He did basically like he just said it apparently with complete lack of emotion, as if he was saying like some sort of just banal thing from work.
The president was shot.
Yeah, RFK, and I think it was obvious that JFK was dead by now, but he didn't say the president's dead or your brother's dead.
Yeah.
He just said the president has been shot.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That's cold.
What up, Bobby K? Jackie's dead. Trollolol.
Yeah.
Clyde, come here.
Clyde, I need my midday massage.
Oh God.
Do you want to go to the beach house, Thicky boy?
I need you to massage this pudding into my
Oh,
face.
Tolson.
Well, he needs his daily mask to keep his frog-like skin
Well, he
moisturized.
needs to apply the insecticide to his ample farmland.
Oh yeah, just the whole
He's
Great
got
Plains.
huge tracts
He's got
of land
huge
between his
tracts
eyes.
of land.
The bridge of his nose. It's like a sheepfold. It's tremendous.
You could plow that for a good crop yield.
Oh,
You could herd 10-headed cattle on
you
there.
could scratch a living out of this man's face.
His pores were like geysers.
And Clyde did.
Oh,
Old faithful.
Oh my God.
Christ.
Okay.
Oh,
And this is a very disjointed episode because his life is very disjointed.
he's just all over the place.
Like this book is,
The boss.
it's the like 450 pages of just
The
the
boss.
boss.
Of just boss. Because he was a boss.
A boss?
The boss.
The boss.
Boss water?
Sure.
Sure.
That's
They're
what
also
you
one
know.
of our sponsors, so we should probably plug them.
The boss.
A $5 bottle of water brought to you by the company corporation. Whatever.
The company corporation.
Yeah, sure. Fine.
We're a person.
Yeah,
The law sees us as an individual identity.
that's true.
So, oh yeah, he also had a file on the Beatles. Just the Beatles. Like everyone knows about John Lennon, but just the Beatles.
The Beatles.
Beatling.
Do we know anything that was in the file?
I didn't look at that one specifically. I focused on Elvis Presley because apparently he was making teenagers horny, and that's bad. He was just too sexy.
We need to desexify this man. Put him in Vietnam.
How much do you want to bet though? What do you think? What do we think? What's our over under on was Elvis actually drafted intentionally, or was he given a low number or something? Like they wanted to get him. Did they want to?
He volunteered because he didn't want to look like he was shirking on the war effort. And then they decided that if Elvis got killed, it would be a huge PR fuck up
Yeah,
for
didn't
Vietnam.
they station him like
They
in
stationed
America?
him in West Germany, and
Oh.
he just sat in the barracks for like 2 years.
Cool.
But from there, he could not get teenagers horny.
That's
So-
true.
Well, he
kept
got
the,
Priscilla.
Oh yeah, he was.
Who's that?
He like
Priscilla, his wife, who was 14 when they met in Germany.
Priscilla, the teenage witch.
Yeah,
I'm not
kind of.
familiar with that. That's a new one for me.
Elvis was the Michael Jackson of his days to a lesser extent.
But yeah, he was too sexy for the FBI, which I love that people are like, well, J. Edgar Hoover, like the J. Edgar Hoover Foundation, his biopic, the biopic makers had to go for them for like information and stuff, but they had to promise they wouldn't make it gay. But then you have the file that's Elvis Presley's just too sexy.
Tolson, come here. Help me out of this file. Let me tell you about just Elvis's hair and face.
Hoover's just like,
Look at the way he
Strong
moves.
jaw.
Look at the way he
This
moves
man.
his right leg.
call
He
him-
shakes it back and forth.
That was
And he-
they're talking about how it was just too sexual the way he dances.
Do you think that they used the phrase race music when they described what he was doing? How many times do you think they used that?
You know, he was too white though.
That's not what they said back then.
Yeah.
They were another reason people were mad at him is that he was blackifying popular music. Because he was covering, Big Mama Thornton songs.
Yeah.
So.
He's just playing rock music. That's where it came from. Came from
Yeah.
blues.
So also the garage rock song by the Kingsmen, Louie Louie, they thought it was obscene. It had these really nonsensical lyrics. You can look it up. It's the most innocuous song ever. But they
Like
called it
Louie and Louie. Oh, that one?
no
Oh. Which one is it?
Louie Louie.
Yeah,
You can't
Louie
play
Louie.
it.
We can't play it? Why not?
Copyright.
So, no one's going to find this to demonetize it. Or to monetize it at all, at first.
Hey, Brad.
Well, cough syrup might.
it's more than just demonetization.
Getting it taken down.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
But just trust us, it's a really dumb song, but they brought it to the
Permission pending.
lab. Permission pending.
We have a meter called the sexiometer.
We're
and we
asking,
put
we
sound into
swear.
it. And if the sound is too sexy, J. Edgar Hoover bans it.
Yeah.
And this Elvis record, off the charts. It's red zone the entire
Louis,
way.
no.
Banned.
Banned.
Illegal.
Frank Sinatra.
To the windows! To the Louis!
Till the
shit.
water drips down his buoy. I don't know. I don't know
Coming here,
about that.
Tolson.
Hey, Tolson, beach house now. Also, he gambled extensively. J. Edgar gambled extensively on horses, but his bets were always forgiven. So if he won, he won. But if he lost, it was just sort of pushed under the table.
This guy sounds like a mafia don.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in the Wasp Mafia.
Oh god, that's the most powerful kind.
Oh,
What is this?
the Wasp Mafia.
Oh, got it. Got
FBI.
it.
White Anglo-Saxon
Yeah,
Protestant,
yeah, waspies. Yeah.
So in I think the 40s, they started
Those people.
looking to diversify the FBI force. So they went into New York and they looked at the Irish and they were like, you know what? You guys are pretty light, aren't you? We're both Christians. You don't like communists either. Apparently, they were a little more tender about the Italians. Apparently, Jewish people were too communist. So they
This
just
was the
got
50s?
40s.
40, okay.
Oh. Still.
So
Still.
they went fishing for nice Catholic boys.
No, that was what Hoover was doing. The agency was trying to recruit.
Yeah, no, he was.
Oh, man.
It had been 20 long years with
With Special Agent Tolson.
Special Agent Clyde the Thickest Tolson.
Oh God.
Special Agent Clydesdale Tolson.
Special Agent Clyde's Horsecock Tolson.
God.
Put it out there.
It was meant
Let's
to
just
be,
put
it was
out
meant to
there.
be implied.
Well,
Someone was going to say it. so
all
I did.
right.
Well, we're in the deep files right now. This
I
is where the
wasn't thinking of
blackmail
Clyde
is.
Tolson's Thundercock, but now I have to be. That could be a band's name.
Clyde Tolson's Thundercock. If he has any form of estate, you'd get sued.
Oh no, the J. Edgar Hoover Foundation is gonna come after us for implying that he was a criminal and a big gay.
Oh.
I think he was
Shit.
very average height.
I think, yeah, he was.
Well, I think that big in this case is not a descriptor of physical volume.
Well, it's the space between the eyes.
Yeah.
yeah, his eyes, which were like a slide rule that could go side to side.
You could do trigonometric functions on it.
Oh.
Just how much focus do I need? All right, let's bring it in.
Oh, he was.
There we go.
Oh, he doesn't need reading glasses because he can refocus his eyes
That's
by
right.
changing the width.
That's totally not how focus works at all.
It is in VR headsets.
Yeah, idiot. Have you ever used an
Nope,
Oculus?
Nope,
Wait,
that's not
you
how
just squint?
No, that's just the slides just so like nope.
God, you guys don't like
about
innovation.
placement.
You don't like Silicon Valley.
But this is where there's the working depth and
Shut up.
there's just
Shut up, nerd. Shut the
There's a
fuck
lot.
up.
Shut up.
I don't want to hear it. I'm not listening.
So interesting. So when Kennedy died, RFK not happy. Not good buddies they were. He was very mad about Jack Ruby shooting Lee Harvey Oswald, but he also was very insistent that he said that the public needs to believe that Oswald acted alone.
Okay.
So it's like even if Oswald did in fact act alone,
He didn't. Oof. He
it
didn't
was
want
like
us to know.
he didn't really care.
He seems like a guy who cared a lot about public order.
Yeah, he was
And
public
probably
order.
used that phrase routinely, which is never a good sign.
yeah, it's pretty.
Questionable. Another 10th red flag.
Also, the CIA invented the term conspiracy theory to describe heterodox views on the JFK assassination, for the same reason.
Well, that's fun.
That, yeah,
Fun fact.
Yeah,
Cool stuff.
Get into that later. So
that's not a real theory. That's a conspiracy
Theory.
theory.
Yeah.
So J. Edgar Hoover, he stayed head of the FBI into his 80s. The president waived the whole retire at 80 thing, the mandatory. So Hoover just died in 1972. We don't really know how. There was no autopsy.
Cool.
Because
Jack-
there's no body.
Yeah, he was cremated like 24 hours after he died.
No, he just faded back into.
There
the
is no
existence
body.
that
He
came from.
no, he didn't
was never
die.
bored, he
he
never
didn't
died.
die. He just decided, you know what?
He
I'm
melts
done.
back into the ground.
I'm done. I'm going. I will. He just walked out one
He's-
day. He morphed into a new form and will return.
He's a Highlander.
Oh my God.
That's he comes out of nowhere. You know, as just a fresh young thing.
wasn't born.
He
didn't
selects
die.
some family to live with in exchange for taking care of mommy.
Yeah.
And then he spends 50 years doing that, gets bored with repressing the populace, and decides to go do something else. He's probably a construction worker.
Yeah.
And there can only be one. He's the one.
He's on a quest to find the others.
Yeah, that's why he became an FBI agent.
Mm-hmm.
So he just sort of
yeah,
died.
to find the other Highlanders,
Yeah.
and he got more powerful.
That's right.
His driver and his housekeeper. So apparently he came down at the exact same time every morning for breakfast, and it says a lot about him. It kind of sounds like when Stalin died almost, because they were so scared to go check the room when he didn't come down, because like if he is sleeping in or doing something, we can't ever disturb, because he never wanted to be disturbed. He told his housekeepers and stuff like, you cannot disturb me, you can't come in here. So they waited for like an hour, even though he had never been vaguely late before they went in and found him laying on the floor, half naked, very dead.
Oh.
Sure.
This is a guy who had a schedule for breakfast, and other people were afraid to get between him and his schedule for breakfast.
Even when they knew something was seriously wrong.
What a maniac.
Because his housekeeper, she got his driver. She didn't want to go up there alone. It was these like tentative, like two old black people, like just like
Of course, yeah.
turning
Those
the
were the times.
knob.
Oh, man.
Oh yeah, also I forgot, he astroturfed his lawn so he didn't have to take care of it.
I don't like to hear the mower while I'm doing my papers.
So it's just horrified neighbors at his like just putting green.
Never
Lawn.
changed. Yeah.
I like. Can you imagine like the crew of the Mystery Machine from Scooby-Doo opening the door to a haunted mansion? Like that level of fear. Like we don't know what's in there, Scoobs.
They could.
Rural Eggy. J. Edgar Hoover.
Like, zoinks! Like,
He peeled off his mask.
Okay, this guy does sound like lizard people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then Clyde Tolson resigned the next day and died 2 years later.
Aw.
Died.
2 Highlanders,
Died. Mutually dependent.
2 Siths. There can only be
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
And
killed his
actually,
master.
his secretary burned a lot of his files directly after his death. So she was probably his contingency plan.
If I ever don't come in to work at this exact time and I didn't call ahead, burn it. Just
You know,
there's a bottle of kerosene and a lighter. Just douse it.
obviously, when he died, people were going to be like, okay, we're going to look through his stuff. And they found most of the stuff that he kept to himself was gone because of Helen Gandy.
Oh, Helen. Oh,
The
Andy.
only thing she gave to journalists was his recipe for popovers, which we just so lovingly consumed.
Yeah, they were pretty good.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Not
make more
bad.
of those.
We can post the recipe in the YouTube description.
Yes. Next, we're gonna do Richard Nixon's tamale pie.
We're gonna do the cocktails that Nixon drank on the presidential plane to black out and rant about his enemies.
If we ever talk about Churchill, can we get like some of his cigars or something?
Yeah.
Can we Churchill some cigars where we get cigars and we put the wire in it?
Yes.
And then,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
We're-
smoking indoors. Let's bring it back.
Well, we'll open the windows.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Set a little box fan up there.
That's fine. Good.
Yeah, I'll do
I have
it.
one.
That'd be fun.
Nice.
We get rip roaring drunk. And Winston Churchill! I forgot what I was saying.
When the Bengal famine was bad.
But you know,
He fought in the Boer Wars.
we did learn some lessons from J. Edgar Hoover because after he died, there became a mandatory thing where you can have an FBI director for 10 years. Some things loosened up until Reagan came back.
So for
King.
8 years,
King.
you had some changes.
Yes.
And then you had Ronald Reagan again.
Yeah. I kind of say again as if he is just a cyclical force.
Honestly,
Reagan is
yeah.
the force of nature, really.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
transdimensional.
Don't worry, everything
like-
is fine.
It's like El Nino and La Nina. There are Reagan years and non-Reagan years.
Yeah, it's like, don't worry, everything is fine. There's nothing to be concerned about. I'm not doing anything wrong.
So yeah, that is the life and times of J. Edgar. Any questions?
So many.
How did this guy get in charge of anything?
Where is he now?
Yeah.
How do we kill it?
I feel like after doing the research, you have to go through the heart and burn the body.
Like how like should I start training now? And what kind of combat style is most effective?
I think he's
Brass knuckles.
he seems entirely too slovenly and lazy to do like physical close combat. So I imagine that he's more of a sniper shot from distance kind of guy. So you want to focus on concealment and quick but silent movement.
Yeah.
I'm imagining Lee Harvey Oswald looking through the sight, and then Hoover's looking through the sight at Lee Harvey Oswald, and zooms out, and the acoustic kitty's looking through the sight at Hoover.
Then some kid with Bop It is looking down his side.
Twisted.
Twist it, pull it, aim it, aim it,
Aim it.
Aim
Do
it.
it. Do
Aim it. Pull it.
kill it,
Pull
kill
it. Pull it.
Wait,
End
aim
it.
Aim it? Is that an Irish name? You know, the Irish are the good Catholics. We will
Ament was one
recruit
of the
them.
first FBI agents who was not a Protestant.
Emmett O'Rourke. He passed the white plate test.
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh yeah. Father.
But really,
Ament
how do
O'Diggity.
we need to find whatever the fuck Hoover is and
His
end
species.
it.
No birth certificate.
Exactly. That's no birth certificate, cremated within 24 hours of death, all those personal records destroyed.
He looks, he doesn't look, he looks like someone saw a drawing of a human and was like, I can recreate this from scratch. Come on.
He looks like a fish man from that cursed town from the
Oh, from Lovecraft?
yeah, from the Lovecraft.
I don't know if
Innsmouth.
I don't know if we know what he looks like. I think that he made decent enough of a fake that he passed by.
Yeah.
You can kind of see the mask melting in later years. Like,
Oh, yeah.
It's just the same dude, but his eyes are a little closer together.
And when they form, when
the
they
Cyclops will be
when
formed
they
one day.
collide.
all right, you
collateral.
viewer can't see this. We will post
Yeah,
this
people
picture
in
as part
Radio
of the
Land
video.
can't see this, but he looks like fucking Shrek wearing a fez.
Is this him in his
He
getup
looks
for
like an
Freemasons?
Get the long sword.
His
We're
shoulders
going
just sort
monster
of.
hunting.
You know, with a claymore.
No.
Look at him behind Nixon. He makes Nixon look like a dime.
He makes Nixon look
A
gorgeous.
dashing young Navy
Okay, that
hero.
thing that I was talking about before this thing started, about like we should go hunt down the hags. Yeah.
Yeah. Stop it before.
Immortal monster beings.
The American
let's
Barrier.
let's put a test to that
The
immortal
American
part.
Barrier. Oh, here's him licking his lips while looking at a shirtless man.
Such a good medic. He's looking away
Big
from
gay energy.
tremendous.
I told you guys earlier that I was eating
Yeah.
lunch and I accidentally made eye contact with a stranger while licking my lips. And not in a sexy way, more in like a lizard way.
Yeah, Abby licks her eyeballs when they get dry.
Okay, they're eye drops. They're eye drops, Jack.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so if we're done with this episode of casual racism against the Irish and casual homophobia against one of the worst people who's ever lived.
Well, that's the thing is that I don't know if it's casual homophobia. I think
it's
that
not,
it's
it doesn't
what
count.
it is.
We're
Is
roasting
it's
him for being a liar.
that's the thing is what it is. It's like, was this all just a lifetime of repressed big gay energy?
But there were so many big gays that he put down, and they were never crazy
Right,
homophobic
but he's trying to
demagogues.
Like
destroy
Elvis.
it, trying to destroy himself. That's the whole thing. Is he hates that he's gay and wants to destroy it. I mean, come on.
So-
You go back through history, see all these people, and you're just like, well, like, hold on. You're just dealing with some internal shit that the world won't accept you for. So you're just gonna blow
He
shit up
should have just
around
been
you
a
as you
beat
go.
author. They were all blowing each other, and but
Yeah,
the
he could have just been a
typewriters.
poet.
Yeah, if he'd been a poet, things would be a lot different.
I can't imagine he was good at it. He'd be
God,
like,
no.
Doesn't have to be.
"Give me."
Just don't be the
Give
FBI
me-
director.
He would write the chicken tendies copy pasta.
Yeah.
Like 50 years too early. Gimme chicken tendies.
You know, he couldn't be a beat poet because they don't make glasses for his face shape. His eyes like start in the middle of the frames.
Well, he would have had to do a modification on the glasses by cutting them in half and adding extra in the middle
like
on the
an
nose
I-beam
bridge.
in the middle just so it's stiff enough.
Oh shit!
You know, they have
So-
low bridge glasses. They need long bridge.
Suspension bridge glasses. My man had a wide ass head.
Literally just the San Francisco Bridge on the glass.
We're like a bunch of teenagers roasting someone on who they see walking past on the
Yeah.
street. Like, look at, he's got high hips.
Look at his high ass hips.
It's fine. I like my new Golden Gate glasses.
You know, maybe Clyde just had very bad eyesight and he didn't know that he was with a frogman for years.
Oh shit. Well, I guess we're done analyzing this guy. Brad, do you have any thoughts on this?
No.
There are things we know, but there are also the ones we don't know,
I welcome this kind of examination.
The power of the presidency doesn't rest here.
Covert operation.
grave danger to the civilized world.
You deserve the truth.